Thank you for staying with us. Now, being a parent is, as we know, difficult at the best of times, never mind when you're running on a lack of sleep. So today we have enlisted expert help to solve some of your sleep dilemmas. And of course, sleep patterns are going to change because of Christmas and, you know, all the festive excitement and all the rest of it.
We're delighted to welcome back sleep consultant Lucy Wolfe. And first up, we have Ciara from Kilkenny on the line. Good morning, Ciara. The clock change has done your toddlers no favour.
Yeah, unfortunately, since the clock's changed, I have a little boy who's nearly 21 months, and ever since then, really, he's been very disorientated, I suppose, in bed and waking up during the night. But in the last few weeks, he's now refusing to even sleep in his cot for a nap or even at night time. So he's in the bed with us, which is not ideal. He's getting a great sleep, but we aren't. So I just wanted to ask Lucy any tips on how we can possibly get him back into a better routine, hopefully before Christmas.
Lucy, can we help Ciara?
Yeah, of course.
Does the clock change actually have this sort of impact
on
young children?
It certainly can do. And we talked at the time when the clocks were going back that it can often throw their sleep structures out. And unfortunately for Ciara, it's kind of unravelled. There are often other things probably there on the sidelines that undermine it, and the time change is definitely the catalyst, and then there are probably other things in the background. What generally happens is the child gets into a cycle of overtiredness. So I've spoken here lots about gaps and wakeful periods and nap and gap dynamics, and what really happens here is that they get too big. So this little fellow is 21 months. Now, the little fellow we worked with recently, Harry, this sounds very similar to his case. So it's likely that now he's waking throughout the course of the night, waking too early. The nap in the day is probably too early. And then even if bedtime is well timed on paper, it's likely to be too late, and so he's overtired.
So Ciara, actually, if you're still on the line there, what time does he take his nap in the day? And what time do you try and have him sort of in his bed or heading towards the bed in the evening?
It changes because he's in a childminder's during the week, and then he's with me at the weekend because I work during the week. So I guess he could go down from 10 o'clock, it could be 11 o'clock, it could be later. So there's no real set structure, I suppose, to his nap time. And sometimes he may sleep for 2 hours, sometimes he may sleep for 1 hour. So it depends.
And so this is why the time change threw you out, because timekeeping underpins positive sleep practices. So it's a case of adjusting and becoming more regular. We need regularity where sleep is concerned, but when you have an overtired child, it's very hard to be regular because they'll want to sleep at irregular times. So what I would encourage you to do is input regularity. So again, I'd have a couple of guidelines. I might propose that if he was super tired before 10 or around 10 a.m, I would give him a filler nap. I'd let him sleep for about 30 minutes, but I would actively wake him, and then I would provide a main nap about 3 hours later. If, however, he can cope, I would actually make sure that he doesn't nap before 1, because otherwise what's happening is anything before 1, even if it's 30 minutes or 2 hours, the gap then is too big before bedtime. And this is what is diluting all of your effort. So if we kind of calibrate the day, put in place 2 naps if needed, but 1 nap after 1 o'clock is an absolute must. And so lots of parents will tell me that, and you probably say that, Ciara, that, you know, he's really tired, he can't cope. So again, you have the filler nap as the option, but otherwise we delay and distract. I might do high-level activity with him, I might take him out in the garden, and I maybe try and delay him. And even if you do it slowly over the course of a few days, I might say, look, nothing before 12, and then move it by 15 minutes every day, so that we ultimately have 1 nap post 1 o'clock with lunch beforehand, and then I would close up that gap. So based on his age range, 21 months, we really don't want them awake for more than 4 to 5 hours. But 5 hours is the absolute max reserved for really well-rested children, which he's not just at the moment. So we close that gap up to 4 hours. So I'd be saying we're looking for that nap to finish closer to 3, and then maybe looking to aim for him to be a bed asleep for 7. And what I might even do, Ciara, for a few days is operate like that, but using what you're doing at the moment. So buggy, car, bed sharing, just to ingrain the timing And then I would encourage you to maybe look at my stay and support approach, where we establish the bedtime routine, we make sure drinks are completely separate to sleep, and then you help transition him to the cot using the cot exercises that we've spoken of here before, and then go through the process of the stay and support.
Okay, Lucy, there's two, there's two schedules going on here. There's Ciara's schedule when she's got the child, and then there's also the childminder. So they've got to be in sync, don't they?
They do need, you do need to be in sync. So again, you need your positive input from the person who looks after him. You need to, I suppose, input, you know, give the information that I am giving you now and see, can we all have an input here that yields a good result? And again, once it's a working model, then things will start to improve and you'll be back to where you started before the time change.
Okay,
that's
Ciara.
some help, Ciara.
Good luck with it. Happy Christmas. Cheers.
Thank you.
Claire wants to know about how to get rid of dummies. I really must get rid of dummies and bottles. Our youngest is nearly a year and a half old and our eldest is 2.5. Only the dummy is associated with sleep, by the way. Bottles are drunk separate to sleep. My question is, should we try to get rid of them both together or separately? Or how do I do this without affecting their sleep? I'm really afraid of interrupting good sleepers.
You're going to interrupt their sleep if you take things away that are associated with sleep, unfortunately. Now, again, I have a very different perspective on dummies than maybe other professionals. I feel at this stage, if you've a dummy beyond 9 months, I feel it's very much a security item and I feel you're committed to it. And I feel that you're committed to it until your child's a little bit older than these two children. I feel they need to be 3+, where you can explain and reason and they can understand why perhaps we are taking something away from them. Yeah, like you say, I would never do two things together. So if you're taking away bottles, I would do that before I would look at taking away the dummy. And again, I would always make that as part of an explanation and a reasoning.
Should Claire ask herself why she's taking away the dummy? Is she taking away the dummy because people are saying, oh, they're too old for dummy now?
Yeah.
In which case, that's none of their business.
Well, it's funny because as soon as you read the question, the words that she used were, I really must get rid of them. And my initial thought was, why do you really must? Because I think we're kind of conditioned, you should, you must. And again, for me, I shape things for a family, but I don't think there's any shoulds or have-tos.
There's no damage, is there, in giving a child...
I mean, your dentist will say something completely different.
But not at that
and
age.
Speech, potentially, as well. The difficulty here is that if they're using a dummy for sleep, they're sucking on that dummy to get to sleep, and through the night they're transitioning through sleep phases and they'll use the dummy, they'll find it and they'll put it back in their mouth. If you take that away, they've got to learn how to go to sleep without sucking, so we're going into sleep learning territory. I'd be much more inclined to do that sleep learning territory when they're that little bit older and the sucking desire maybe is reduced a little bit more. And just while we're on it, this is the time of year that lots of parents do give the dummy to Santi, the bottle up to the fairies and this elf on the shelf. And I suppose it's going to be no surprise to you that I feel that's not the right thing to do at this time of year. I would say big changes for the new year. I think there's way too much going on Christmas time, travelling, late nights, more sugar than we can cope with.
No, you're absolutely right. Wait till they're older and they can understand. And also you can bribe them.
Well, we will definitely incentivise them if we're going to. But we'll explain it to them.
Incentivise, not bribe, Mark.
We'll definitely explain to them why, and so that they have an input into the changes you're making.
I want to get to Orla's question because I think a lot of people suffer from this. Why is he waking so early? I'm battling sleep deprivation with my 5-month-old. He wakes every morning, any time between 3 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. and he is ready for the day, wide awake, utterly alert. How do I solve this problem?
Yeah, we would maybe call this a split night concept, where your baby has gone to bed and slept until 4:30 and 5 and then is awake, looking to start the day. There's lots of reasons behind early rising. Now, I'm very conscious this baby's only 5 months, so I tend not to try and do too much with this age group, if that makes any sense, because I feel that they're not necessarily ready, despite the parents being absolutely ready. I first of all look at creating my feeding and sleeping balance to the day and making sure that there are the smallest windows between the last nap and bedtime. So at 5 months, we actually don't really want that baby to be awake for more than 2 hours between the final nap and being in bed asleep. So that might mean napping until 5 and being asleep by 7. If that gap is too big, it leaves you vulnerable to the early waking at 4:30 and 5. But there is another...
Even though people might think, well, if he doesn't have the nap at 5 o'clock, then he'll be more likely to sleep through the night.
Exactly, and the reverse is typically the reverse is typically true. And the other thing is, if the bedtime is too early, without the nap, that gives you the split night. So if they go to bed at 6 and they wake at 4:30, they've done enough sleep, if that makes any sense. So again, it's trying to create that balance. And then as he gets a little bit older, I might look at making sure that the last feed is not too close to sleep time
bedtime.
and disabling that ability to get through the last sleep phase.
I have started to listen to every single word, Lucy Wolfe, that you
You
say.
will always be fine.
Thank you, Lucy.
Lucy, happy Christmas. Thank you
happy
for all your
returns.
advice.
Thank you
We'll
so
see you in
much.
the new
Thank
year.
you.
Right now, coming up, sorry, do you
No,
want to
coming
do
up, we have some festive fashion.
wakey, wakey. That's how I
anyone-
felt about an hour ago.
Oh, stop. For anyone looking to update their wardrobe this season.